What would you do if your boss, your terrifying, untouchable boss, stood over your desk at 12:17 a.m. holding a love note meant for someone else? What would you do if his voice was calm, but his hands were shaking? And what would you do if the most dangerous man in Seoul looked at you like you'd just been stolen from him? Nia Bennett didn't believe in fate. She believed in bills. She believed in survival. She believed in not giving men the chance to ruin her life twice. That's why she was still in the office. Konghwa Tower after midnight was a different world, cold marble, expensive silence, air conditioning that felt like punishment. The city outside glittered like it was mocking her, and every light reflected off the glass like watching eyes. Her heels made soft clicks as she walked toward her desk. Then she smelled it. Flowers. Fresh cut stems. Lily pollen. Rose sweetness. She stopped. Because she hadn't ordered flowers. No one had her personal address in Seoul. And her desk, her neat, controlled, always perfect desk, had been invaded. A bouquet sat right in the center like a challenge. White lilies, deep red roses, black wrapping paper, a ribbon so satin smooth it looked like it belonged around a throat. A card. Her name printed on it. Nia. Her fingers hovered over the card, then pulled back like the paper might bite. In her head, she heard her own voice from 3 years ago, broke, pregnant, begging, "Please don't leave me like this." She inhaled once. Twice. Then she reached. The card wasn't sealed. Someone had already opened it. A sound came from behind her, quiet, controlled, like a man shifting weight in a suit that cost more than her first car. Nia turned. Kang Dohyun stood by the window. Not sitting. Not relaxed. Not casual. Standing. Tall. Broad shoulders. Black hair pushed back like he didn't have time for softness. His tie loosened, shirt collar open just enough to show he'd been restraining himself all day. His eyes were the darkest thing in the room. In his hand, her card. He held it between 2 fingers like it was dirty. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. "Who got you those flowers?" Nia's throat tightened. "Sir. I just got here." He took 1 step closer, and the air felt heavier, like the building itself leaned toward him. He lifted the card slightly. She saw the message. "Can't wait for Saturday." No name. Just that. Like whoever wrote it knew they didn't have to introduce themselves. Like it wasn't a question. Like it was a claim. Nia's stomach dropped. "I don't know who that's from." Dohyun's jaw flexed. His gaze didn't leave her face. "You don't know," he repeated, almost gently. But his hand betrayed him. The slightest tremor. Jealousy. Not professional concern. Not curiosity. Jealousy like a blade. Nia forced herself to stand straighter. "It's late. You shouldn't be." "You're my secretary," he said softly, cutting her off. She hated how her body reacted to that softness. Hated the heat that flickered in her chest, like her instincts didn't care about her rules. Dohyun's eyes dropped to her wrist, like he could see her pulse through skin. Then he looked back up. "And someone is trying to speak to you," he continued, voice quiet. "On my floor. In my building. Past my security." The word "my" landed wrong. Possessive. Personal. Nia's mouth went dry. "I didn't invite them." Dohyun leaned closer, close enough that she caught his scent, cedar and sandalwood, expensive cologne layered over something older. Something like smoke. Something like danger. "Do you know," he murmured, "what happens to men who put their hands on what belongs to me?" Nia's breath caught. Belongs to him? Her heart kicked once, hard, like it wanted to run out of her chest. She stepped back. "I don't belong to anyone." Dohyun's gaze sharpened, like she'd slapped him without touching him. A beat of silence. Then his phone vibrated. He didn't look away from her when he answered it. "June," he said in Korean. Calm. Controlled. Deadly. 1 sentence. Quiet as prayer. Then he ended the call. Nia whispered, "What did you do?" Dohyun's eyes didn't blink. "I asked who sent them," he said. Nia's pulse spiked. "You can't just." "Yes," he said. "I can." He looked at the bouquet again, like it offended him. Then back to her. "You have 5 minutes," he said softly, "before I find out who thinks they can claim you." 5 minutes. Nia felt the room tilt. Because the most frightening part wasn't that he could find out. It was that she believed he would. And that when he did, he wouldn't be able to stop. Before we go deeper, before we go back to the beginning, subscribe and turn on notifications. Because you're about to learn how Nia Bennett ended up here. How she climbed out of hell. And how Kang Dohyun, billionaire, Mafia king, the man who never loses, became obsessed with a woman he was never supposed to touch. But to understand the flowers, we have to understand the first betrayal. 3 years earlier, Nia's life wasn't glamorous. It was heat-sticky Miami mornings and cheap coffee and a phone that always felt one missed payment away from shutting off. It was her working 2 jobs, day shift at a medical billing office, nights bartending, because temporary help always became permanent when you were dependable. It was a 1-bedroom apartment in Little Haiti, paint peeling at the corners, and a boyfriend who always said he was figuring things out. Tristan Cole. He was pretty in that way that made people forgive him. Light eyes, perfect teeth, soft voice that knew how to turn apologies into poetry. He didn't have money, but he had confidence. And confidence sells dreams. Nia paid the rent. Nia covered the electricity. Nia bought the groceries, the gas, the new shirts he wore to interviews that always somehow didn't work out. Tristan called her baby like it was a currency. Like affection was payment for her labor. And Nia wanted to believe. Because she'd grown up watching women carry everything and still smile at family dinners. Because she'd watched her aunties pray over men who didn't deserve it. Because she didn't want to be hard. Not all the time. Then she got pregnant. For months. She didn't tell anyone at first. She sat on the edge of her bathtub staring at the test, crying quietly, terrified and happy in the same breath. Tristan kissed her forehead and said, "We're gonna be a family." And Nia let herself imagine it. She bought tiny onesies. She painted the corner of their room a warm yellow. She wrote a name in her notes app and stared at it like it was sacred. Then one afternoon she came home early from work. The apartment door was unlocked. Her stomach knew before her eyes did. The place was stripped. His clothes gone. His shoes. His cologne. The photo frames. Her laptop. Even the yellow paint samples, like he couldn't stand leaving her one bright thing. Nia walked to the kitchen counter and saw the silence. No note. No apology. Just an empty space where her emergency envelope used to be. She grabbed her phone and checked her bank account. The screen loaded. Then it hit her like a punch. $17.46. $17 and change. Her money. Her savings. Her life. Gone. She called Tristan until her fingers hurt. No answer. She called his mother. His friends. People who smiled in her face and suddenly didn't know him. She went to the police. They took a report like they were bored. "Ma'am, do you have proof he intended to steal?" Nia's hands shook so badly she had to sit down in the station lobby. Proof? Her stomach tightened with nausea. She clutched her belly instinctively. That night, she went back to the apartment and sat on the floor because there was no couch anymore. The AC was off. The air was thick. Her body felt heavy. And for the first time in her life, she understood what it meant to be abandoned. Not romantically. Financially. Physically. Spiritually. Nia tried to work. But morning sickness got worse. She tried to keep the apartment. But eviction notices don't care about pregnancy. Within weeks, she was sleeping in her car. A borrowed blanket. A phone charger that only worked if she held it at an angle. The taste of cheap ramen and prenatal vitamins she couldn't keep down. One night, in a gas station bathroom, the cramps started. Sharp. Wrong. She told herself it was stress. Told herself she just needed water. Then she saw blood. So much blood. She drove to the ER trembling, one hand on the wheel, one hand pressed between her thighs, begging her body to hold on. Charity ward. Bright lights. Cold sheets. A nurse who looked tired. A doctor who avoided her eyes. And then the words that split her in half. "I'm sorry." Nia stared at the ceiling tiles while her world emptied out. She left the hospital alone. No flowers. No hand to hold. Just a discharge paper and a hollow ache that didn't care how strong she was. For weeks after, she felt nothing. Then one day she felt anger. Real anger. Hot. Alive. And that anger was a rope. It pulled her out of the dark. Nia took any work she could. Cleaned offices. Stocked shelves. Answered phones. She rebuilt her credit like it was a war. And 2 years later, when a recruiting email offered her an administrative position in Seoul, English fluency preferred, discretion required, she said yes. Not because she dreamed of Korea. Because she dreamed of distance. A city where Tristan's name didn't mean anything. A place where her grief wasn't attached to every street corner. Seoul gave her sharp air and neon and crowds that didn't know her story. She told herself she was safe. Then she met Kang Dohyun. The first time she saw him, it wasn't in a romantic moment. It was in a boardroom. He walked in late, and the entire room shifted like gravity had changed. Men in suits straightened. People who'd been talking shut up without being told. He wore a black three-piece suit that looked custom, like it belonged to him more than his skin did. His watch caught the light. The kind of watch that could have paid off her old hospital bill 10 times over. Nia kept her eyes down, because that's what survival taught her. But she felt him look at her anyway. Not like a man noticing a woman. Like a man noticing a weapon he might need one day. After the meeting, her manager whispered, "That's Chairman Kang. Don't speak unless spoken to." Nia nodded. Then, as everyone filed out, Dohyun paused beside her chair. He didn't smile. He didn't flirt. He simply said, "You're new." Nia lifted her gaze and met his eyes for the first time. She saw something lonely behind the cold. Something controlled to the point of pain. "Yes, sir," she said. He studied her like he could read history in her posture. Then he said, "You'll work for me." Her manager choked on air. "Chairman." Dohyun didn't even glance at him. "I don't repeat myself," he said softly. And, just like that, Nia Bennett's life changed again. She thought it was a promotion. She had no idea it was a summons. Because she didn't know who Kang Dohyun really was. She didn't know what kind of men bowed when he walked into a room. She didn't know the enemies attached to his name. And she definitely didn't know that one day a bouquet of flowers on her desk would set off a war. Nia learned quickly, working for Kang Dohyun wasn't like working for a normal CEO. Normal CEOs yelled. Dohyun didn't. He spoke quietly, and people moved like their bones had been commanded. His assistants didn't last long. They quit, transferred, disappeared from the floor like ghosts. But Nia stayed. Not because she was fearless. Because she was used to fear. Dohyun's penthouse office had a private elevator, a private lounge, a closet of spare suits, a bar cart that looked like museum art. And every morning, without fail, a coffee appeared on Nia's desk. Same order. Oat milk. 2 sugars. Cinnamon. She never told anyone that's how she liked it. The first time she asked the junior assistant who delivered it, the girl looked confused. "It came from upstairs," she said. "Chairman Kang said you'd drink it." Nia stared at the cup for a long time. Because men didn't notice details about her unless they wanted something. And Dohyun didn't act like he wanted anything. He acted like he already owned it. Their routine became dangerous in small ways. His hand steadying her back when she stumbled in heels, lingering half a second too long. His voice saying her name in private meetings like it meant more than employee. Nia. 1 syllable, and her spine would straighten. She told herself it was just work. Then the first warning came. A man approached her outside a luxury building in Cheongdam, smiling too wide, stepping too close. "Miss Bennett," he said in English, "Chairman Kang is a hard man to serve." Nia's body went cold. "Who are you?" The man's smile never reached his eyes. "A friend of someone who doesn't like him." Nia tried to step away. The man's hand caught her elbow. Not enough to bruise. Enough to remind her she was alone. Then a shadow moved. A black SUV rolled up silently like it had been summoned by thought. 2 men got out, tall, expressionless, suits too perfect to be normal. One of them, June, looked at the stranger like he was already dead. The stranger's hand dropped from Nia's arm instantly. June didn't raise his voice. "Leave," he said in Korean. The stranger hesitated. June's gaze sharpened by a fraction. The stranger left. Nia's knees almost buckled from adrenaline. June turned to her. "Chairman Kang said you're not to walk alone." Nia's mouth went dry. "He said that?" Jun's expression didn't change. Yes. That night, Nia confronted Dohyun in his office. She didn't plan to. It just came out of her. Why do you have men following me? Dohyun looked up from his laptop slowly. Calm. Beautiful. Dangerous. Because someone touched you, he said, like that explained everything. Nia's pulse thumped. You can't control my life. His gaze sharpened. I'm not controlling you. He stood, walked around the desk, and stopped too close. He smelled like cedar and something dark. He looked down at her like he was fighting something inside himself. I'm keeping you alive, he said. Nia swallowed. Alive from what? For the first time, the mask slipped. Not fully, just enough. My world, he said softly, doesn't forgive mistakes. Nia stared at him. Are you threatening me? Dohyun's eyes flashed. No. His voice dropped lower. I'm warning you. A beat. Then, quieter. And I don't like the idea of you being hurt. Nia's throat tightened. She hated the way that sentence made her chest ache. She forced a laugh that wasn't real. Why would you care? Dohyun looked at her for a long moment, like he was choosing truth or lie. Then he said, because you don't look at me like everyone else. Nia's voice came out softer. How do I look at you? His eyes didn't move from hers. Like I'm a man, he said. Not a god. Not a wallet. Not a headline. Her breath hitched. Dohyun's hand lifted, slow, like he was asking permission without words. His knuckles brushed her jaw, barely there, but it lit her nerves like a match. You're doing it right now, he murmured. Nia should have stepped back. Instead, she stood still, frozen in that dangerous middle place between fear and wanting. Then his phone rang. And the spell snapped. Dohyun looked at the screen. His face hardened instantly. He answered in Korean. Short. Sharp. Nia caught one phrase. Found him. When he ended the call, his eyes returned to her. Go home, he said. Nia frowned. What? Now, he repeated. Jun will take you. Nia crossed her arms. Don't order me around. Dohyun's jaw flexed. Then his voice softened, like he was forcing it. Please, he said. Just tonight. That word, please, hit her harder than any command. Nia nodded, uneasy. As she left, she didn't see the way Dohyun's hands gripped the edge of his desk. Didn't see him close his eyes like he was in pain. Didn't hear him whisper to the empty office. Not her. Because what Nia didn't know was that someone from her past had landed in Seoul. And Dohyun's men had just recognized his face. If you're locked in right now, hit like, subscribe to Revenge Cafe, and comment. Would you run from a man like Dohyun, or let him burn the world down for you? Because the next part? It gets ugly. 2 days later, Nia walked into the office and found them. The bouquet. White lilies. Red roses. Black ribbon. Her stomach dropped so fast she tasted metal. Her assistant whispered they were delivered personally. The courier had executive clearance. Executive clearance. Only a handful of people had that. Nia didn't touch the flowers. She didn't smell them. She didn't read the card. She shoved them under her desk like hiding them could erase them. But the card still burned in her mind. Because she recognized the handwriting. Tristan. Of course. Of course he'd found her. Nia's hands shook as she grabbed her phone to call security. And then the office door opened. Kang Dohyun stepped in. And the second his gaze landed on the bouquet, something in him changed. He walked to her desk like a predator that had decided it was done being patient. He picked up the card. Read it. Then looked at her like the world had become very simple. Who got you those flowers? That's how the night became midnight. That's how the clock became 12:17. That's how we arrived at the moment where Dohyun made one call. And decided someone was going to pay. Tristan didn't come to the tower. He chose a public place. Because narcissists love an audience. Gangnam Luxury Mall. Marble floors. Crystal lighting. Cold air that smelled like expensive perfume. Nia wore a simple black dress, nothing flashy, nothing desperate. She told herself she was only here to end it. To make it stop. But her body remembered. Her trauma remembered. Tristan stood near a storefront window like he belonged there. Designer jacket, smug smile, a pretty woman on his arm like a trophy. His eyes landed on Nia and lit up with that same old entitlement. Wow, he said, loud enough for people nearby to hear. Look at you. Seoul did wonders. Nia's hands clenched around her bag. Why are you here? Tristan laughed. No hello? After everything? You're still dramatic. The woman beside him, his fiancée, probably, tilted her head. Who is this? Tristan didn't look at her. His eyes stayed on Nia. An old mistake. Nia swallowed heat and pain. You stole my money. Tristan's smile widened. You mean the money you gave me? Nia's vision narrowed. I was pregnant. Tristan leaned in, voice dropping like he was sharing a joke. You were always good at playing victim, he murmured. Maybe if you weren't so needy, I wouldn't have left. The mall noise blurred. Nia's chest tightened, breath turning shallow. She tasted metal again. Then Tristan's eyes flicked past her shoulder, just for a second. A flicker of uncertainty. Nia turned. And the mall seemed to go silent. 6 men in black suits moved through the crowd like they owned the air. People instinctively stepped aside, not knowing why. And in the center of them, Kang Dohyun. He walked like a king who didn't care about witnesses. He came straight to Nia first. Not to Tristan. Nia's breath hitched as Dohyun reached her. His eyes scanned her face, her posture, her hands. Are you hurt? He asked. Nia tried to speak. Her throat wouldn't work. Tristan's laugh sounded forced now. Who the hell is this? Dohyun didn't look at him yet. He lifted Nia's hand gently, turning her wrist as if checking for bruises. His touch was soft. His eyes were not. Nia, he said, voice low, did he touch you? Tristan scoffed, stepping forward. Listen, man. Dohyun finally turned. And the temperature in the mall dropped. He didn't shout. He didn't posture. He moved. In 3 steps, Dohyun was in front of Tristan. His hand shot up and grabbed Tristan by the throat, one-handed, effortless, lifting him just enough that Tristan's shoes scraped the marble. Gasps spread through the crowd. Tristan's face turned red as he clawed at Dohyun's wrist. Dohyun's voice stayed quiet. My wife, he said, loud enough for Tristan to hear, is standing right there. Nia's heart slammed. Wife? Tristan choked. What? Dohyun leaned closer, eyes black. The woman you stole from, he continued, the woman you left bleeding and alone. His grip tightened slightly. Belongs under my protection now. Tristan wheezed, panic flooding his eyes. His fiancée stumbled back. Tristan, what is he talking about? Dohyun didn't look away from Tristan. You like money, Dohyun said calmly. Good. We'll speak your language. He released Tristan abruptly. Tristan collapsed, coughing, humiliated. Dohyun pulled out his phone. He made 1 call. Then another. Then a third. Each call was short. Each call ended with a quiet, respectful yes, Chairman. Nia watched Tristan's face shift from arrogance to confusion, to fear. Dohyun looked at Tristan's fiancée, finally acknowledging her. You should go, he said politely. Before your name is attached to his. The woman stared at Nia, then Tristan. Tristan, she whispered, voice cracking, what did you do? Tristan scrambled up, rage leaking through his fear. She's lying. She's crazy. Nia stepped forward. Her knees still trembled. But she stood. She looked at Tristan and let the truth settle in her voice like a blade. You left me homeless, she said. You emptied my account. You vanished when I was pregnant. Tristan's eyes darted. You're trying to ruin me. Nia's voice broke, but she didn't stop. I lost the baby, she said. In a gas station bathroom. Because I didn't have money for care. Because you took everything. The crowd went still. Tristan's face contorted. That's not my... Dohyun's hand moved fast, grabbing Tristan's collar and slamming him back against a marble pillar hard enough to make a sound that turned heads. Dohyun spoke softly, almost tenderly. You will not, he said, disrespect her grief. Tristan's eyes were wild. Who are you? Dohyun's smile was small and terrifying. Kang Dohyun, he said. And in this city, my name is a locked door. He leaned closer. By tomorrow morning, he murmured, your accounts will be frozen. Tristan's breath hitched. By noon, Dohyun continued, your employer will fire you. Tristan shook his head. You can't. By evening, Dohyun said calmly, your fiancé's family will see the evidence of every woman you've done this to. Nia's throat tightened. Dohyun glanced back at her, voice softening only for her. I found the others, he told her. The pattern. Then he looked at Tristan again. You're not special, he said. You're just predictable. Tristan's face cracked. Fear finally replaced arrogance. Please, Tristan whispered. I'll apologize. Dohyun's eyes flicked to Nia. Not asking permission exactly, but asking. Nia inhaled. Her voice came out steady. No, she said softly. Don't stop. That's when she realized it. This wasn't him saving her. This was justice wearing a suit. Nia stepped closer to Tristan. You thought I'd always be the woman begging, she said. You thought I'd stay small so you could feel big. Tristan's eyes filled with panic. Nia. She cut him off. I survived you, she said. And I'm done letting you haunt me. She turned away. And that walking away was the moment she won. Dohyun's hand found the small of her back. Gentle. Possessive. Protective. He guided her through the crowd like the world belonged to him. Because it did. And Tristan? Tristan stayed there on the marble floor, coughing and shaking, watching the start of his life collapsing in real time. That night, back at the penthouse, the city lights looked softer through glass. Nia sat on the edge of a massive bed she still wasn't used to, her elbow bandaged where she'd hit a display stand during the chaos. Dohyun knelt in front of her. The same man who could choke a man one-handed. Wrapped gauze like he was handling something fragile. Nia swallowed. You called me your wife. Dohyun didn't look up. Did it bother you? Nia's chest tightened. It scared me. He finally lifted his eyes. And did it feel wrong, he asked. Nia hesitated. The truth was dangerous. No, she admitted. Dohyun's jaw flexed like relief hurt. I don't share, he said quietly. And I don't lose. Nia's laugh came out shaky. That's not romantic. Dohyun's mouth twitched, almost a smile. It's honest, he said. Then, softer, and you deserve honesty. A beat. Nia's voice dropped. Why do you care so much? Dohyun's gaze held hers. Because you survived, he said. And you didn't become cruel. Nia's throat burned. Dohyun's hand cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheek like he was memorizing her. I'm sorry, Nia whispered. For letting him get to me. Dohyun's eyes softened. Trauma doesn't expire, he said. Pain doesn't disappear because you move to a new country. He leaned in, forehead nearly touching hers. You're not alone anymore, he murmured. Not ever. Weeks later, the consequences arrived like dominoes. A new story about financial fraud. A leaked investigation. An apology video from Tristan, eyes hollow, voice shaking, reading a statement like a man reciting his own funeral. Nia watched it once, then turned it off. 2 days after that, her banking app pinged. A deposit. $127,000. Every dollar Tristan stole. Plus interest. Plus damages. Nia stared at the number for a long time, remembering $17 and change. Then she did something Tristan would never understand. She didn't spend it on revenge dresses or flashy cars. She opened a foundation. A real one. In Itaewon, where women from everywhere could walk in and be safe. The Phoenix Ledger Foundation, help for women financially abused by partners, legal help, housing, job placement, therapy. Dohyun didn't ask for control. He only asked one thing. Let me stand beside you, he said. Months later, they stood in a quiet private garden, Korean lanterns glowing, soft music, a small circle of people who mattered. Nia wore a dress that fused cultures, clean modern lines with a nod to hanbok elegance. Gold jewelry warm on her skin. Dohyun looked at her like he'd waited his whole life. When he spoke his vows, his voice barely held steady. You are my restraint, he said. And my reason. Nia's voice didn't shake when she answered. I don't belong to anyone, she said, eyes locked on his. Then she stepped closer, hand on his chest. But I choose you. That night later, Nia lay in their bedroom, the city quiet beneath them. She remembered the bouquet. The jealousy. The way Dohyun's hands trembled. She turned to him and said softly, "A year ago, you stood over my desk like you wanted to burn the world down." Dohyun's arm tightened around her waist. "I still do," he murmured. "For you." Nia smiled slow, "Sure." "Good," she said. "Because now, I'll help you aim." If you made it to the end, thank you for sitting in this story with me. Like this video if you loved Nia's glow up and Tristan's downfall. Subscribe to Revenge Cafe for more Afro-Korean dark romance stories, jealous billionaires, protective kings, and women who rise from ashes. And comment below. What was your favorite moment, Dohyun's mall entrance, or Nia walking away? Should the next story be secret baby, arranged marriage, or rival mafia family revenge? Until next time, remember, you're always worth protecting. And if someone tries to break you, make sure the world watches you rebuild.